What a fantastic program and really great screening. We get the opportunity now for the filmmakers to join us on stage, please. So delighted to introduce Jenny, who will be online, Kim, Patrick, Stacy, and Lucas to join me. Hannah unfortunately couldn't make it. Yes. And I think Jenny is online, wonderful. Todd might join us in a second as well. And I was always really thinking that, one day I would love to do a commission of smartphone films. And Therese, you've made this possible. So, it was really great to see what you have come up with. I really applaud you for the courage of creativity, curiosity, your craftsmanship and your craftsmanship. I mean, what you've seen now is really, it's imagination, it's innovation, but also imperfection, which I think is quite key for mobile and smartphone filmmaking. And the passion to drive to make the films about the environment. I think it's really, it captured my imagination and you showed us some new perspectives. So if you think about what happens in smartphone filmmaking, and I'm always very interested to think about alternative spaces that it opens up, I think you've all captured this in this space. So smartphone filmmaking is really about the zeitgeist and the things that are happening in our world. I'm really interested to hear a bit more about the creative process and some of your ideas and some of your inspirations as well. So having a great opportunity to have you all on stage. Maybe we start with Jenny, who's online. Can you talk just a little bit about the inspiration for your work?
Hi everyone, I'm here on Bundjalung country and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of where we're all taking place from today and their good custodianship for over 2,000 generations here. Inspiration for the film, I've been trying to get a plant project up, proposing it to all sorts of arts industry and academia for at least 5 years now and haven't got one successful thing, but I've carried on and we've managed to do our publications and projects anyway, despite that, being very resourceful.
Thank you.
I'm in the street in Lismore, it's very noisy.
Great. Did you have any other works that you thought about when creating this film, or was there some other art forms or other projects that you thought about?
So I've just decided to devote the next 20 years of my life to helping out the plants. So there's a lot of projects that inspire this, but also the main inspiration is that there's a lack of it. So in my own research, I rarely see projects about native plants by or for Indigenous women. So I'm just trying to put Indigenous women back in the picture because we are the custodians of bush food. So there's an Aboriginal woman from Queensland, her name's Suzanne Thompson, who's also advocating for the plants. And a quote from her is that bush food is women's business. But we tend to forget that because in the Australian visionary of what plant custodianship looks like, usually it's a man who wears a ranger's suit, whether they be Aboriginal or non-Indigenous. They're often the ones who get the voice for the custodianship of plants and the landscape as well.
Thank you. Maybe I go next to Lucas. Just how did you come up with the location for your project?
So I've been interested in doing astrophotography for a while. Oh, there we go. I was saying I've been interested in doing astrophotography for a while, and I also do a bit of camping and so forth, like during the summer and stuff like that. And being able to get out to remote areas is like a really important part of, you know, reaching a really sort of a dark sky. So we have a pretty precious resource here in Australia, the dark skies, and being able to, you know, travel further distances, like the mobile phone just really allows me to, you know, get out there and take less gear and, you know, really be still in the darkness with the, you know, the sky and so forth, and just contemplating. For instance, you don't have your mobile phone with you, so you're just still and there. So yeah, I've just found it like a really good way to engage with nature and just to observe it and, you know, be still in the darkness. And it's amazing what other senses just start to, you know, develop, your hearing and your smell and stuff like that. So it's just, yeah, being one with nature is really a big part of it.
Fantastic, thank you. Moving next to Stacey and Patrick, just as you're there. I really enjoyed seeing the screen lifer approach. And, you know, some people have made like, they call it sort of desktop films, but then there's also like director, I can never pronounce his name, who sort of came up with some feature films, has on his website for the screen lifer. Is that something that you sort of inspired you, or did you sort of like think more about some sort of experimenting and sought some social media references to make this happen? Or like, just, can you like explain us a bit about how you sort of came up with this approach?
1, 2, is that on?
Yep.
Can you hear me? There we go. Thank you. I think that this work really started from just really wanting to collaborate together in a way that really embraced improvisational, experimental methods. So, you know, Stacey has a well-established screenwriting practice. I've been involved with Mina now for 10 years. I think I've worked out on the way here. I went to the one in Auckland in 2013, about this time 10 years ago. So, you know, we really wanted to put our practices together to improvise around this topic of the environment, which is something that we've been exploring through other work as well. Yeah, so it was sort of a bit of a happy accident that we, by the time we got into post-production, put it together in a way that really sort of embraced that screen lifer approach almost accidentally in a way. We really wanted to focus on improvising, collecting the materials that we were going to gather for post-production. And we really sort of took it from there. Is there anything you want to add?
I guess we decided to have our meetings. We decided to kind of take the smartphone thing really seriously and have our meetings and collect our material and share our material, you know, via our phones, my really shit iPhone. And then we realized that that kind of was the material in many ways. Also, I had written a chapter for one of your books with a colleague, Craig Batty, in about 2018 about the affordances for screenwriting, not just filmmaking, and there really were so few. And in the interim final draft, released an iPhone app. It's not a good app, she says, you know, stymieing any chance to be sponsored by Final Draft. It's not a good app compared to its desktop application. But it was interesting. It was interesting to screen record my attempts to use its limited affordances and share them with PK and respond to his footage in a screenwriterly way. He also showed me Miranda July's excellent music video for Slater Kinney, and Bangin' Song, great video, and that was maybe one of our inspirations for the final form.
Good memory. That was, yes.
Thank you. I quite like this notion of that you work with the improvisation to make this part of the concept and the leitmotif of the film, and yeah, a very mobile-esque approach to the screenwriting as well. Thank you. And I think this is the beauty of smartphone filmmaking, that it can weave across different genres, forms, and formats. And so, Kim, with very much an immersive media approach, I think it's really great to see. I mean, this is MINA, the Mobile Innovation Network. And so innovation for us, of course, is about creativity, not just using some tech. It's about involving communities in making storytelling happen. Well, I think your film really shows that you don't have to sort of, like the other films as well, follow a traditional production post in Premiere or Avid or whatever, or like on your phone, and then you go, but you sort of dived into the world of Blender and you worked with the LiDAR camera of your phone.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, when I first moved to Adelaide a few years ago, I heard the story about the tree in the shopping mall, and it sort of captivated me ever since. And it keeps coming up because it's a bit of a I don't know, a folklore tale, I guess, in Adelaide, like just the ridiculous tragedy and hubris of humans building a mall around a tree and then, trying to keep it alive with nutrients. So I really wanted to do something with that, but how do you tell that story? And then earlier in the year, I started experimenting with photogrammetry and LiDAR scans using an iPad, actually, if that's allowed. Still mobile.
Anything that fits in your pocket, so no problem.
I've got big
Yes.
pockets in it. Yeah. So yeah, and Blender's really interesting too because it's all open access, and so my skills are a bit clunky, but I kind of like that sort of the messy drippiness of the tears in the fabric, and it just allows me to sort of composite all these different spaces and built environments, and also the trees, and that's what I was really thinking about, making this speculative environment. So trying to, show the death of the tree, and then the tree sort of emerging in the mall, and the tree sort of cohabitating sort of towards the end. I'm not sure how much that came across, but I wanted to do something that you can't do with documentary, where you're just sort of, you're not always representing, but you can create things, I guess, in this space that are a little bit more difficult to do in documentary.
Wonderful, thank you.
Just before we move on, unfortunately, Hannah and is Todd here? Has he been able to come online yet? No.
He was online. He's in the car somewhere, very mobile.
Yeah.
So if he hits the G4 network again, he will join us.
Well, I don't want to speak on behalf of either of those filmmakers, but I just kind of quote a little bit from the research statements that they gave. So Hannah talks about surface levels as something that invites attention to what she calls the what's left in the flood and drought damaged environments of inland Australia. And she did this by through a process of collecting fragments of this environment. And you would have seen that, and what she's using her camera for is sort of movement and moving through this environment. And what they are, all of the images in Hannah's work are what she says, these are the parts of the environment that are left out in dominant narratives of ruin and despair. And she hopes that through this work that there could be, or is there, or there's a question, can you elicit hope? Can you find in these ruins a hope for a future and for this, what are sort of enduring environments, really? And just to say a bit about Todd's work, Todd draws our attention to practices of remembrance of the visual details of our environments through what is a kind of an incredibly novel and quite stunning minimalist aesthetic of what he calls visual silence. I found it really dreamlike, and the kind of punctuations of absence and presence there of our memory of environments. And and he does this through tensions between light, shadow, and electronic music. Calls this, the work is The Details I Remember.
Do you have any prompts or questions for the...
I think we'll open questions to the floor. I've got some questions, but yeah, anyone here have a question for?
How much input did you have over the final product? Did you have any input on the final product? Did you have any input of the final product, or in the stage that it came to you, the initial submissions? Did you give any feedback, or did you just let the filmmakers do their thing?
No, zero. I think you can all speak to that?
0.
Yeah, that we really wanted it to be hands off, that it was it's very much a research project for us, and it was about allowing the participants in the project to do their own thing. And you know, what's really interesting for us is that, you know, we were interested in this question of, can a smartphone enable new or continuing forms of interaction with the environment? And I think we got so really different kind of responses to that question, and I think a very rich answer to that question that we posed through the 6 pieces of the 6 works. And yeah, no, so we didn't interfere at all, but we were so pleased with what we received, and we're very grateful. And particularly I want to say to Jenny as well, how grateful we are for the knowledge, the sharing, that your film is a sharing of very important traditional knowledges. And I think it was a great gift of generosity for the women who do their art practice and giving us that video. So thank you, Jenny. I don't know if you can hear me, but I just wanted to reciprocate your generosity by saying how grateful we are, yeah, for that.
Thank you. Yeah, we all enjoyed it.
Great. I heard that you take, you know, a little bit of funding for you to kind of jump in the car and go and work with all those wonderful matriarchs. Is that right? Is that the mobile of the mobile phone?
Yeah, a bit of both. So this, we were grateful also for the motivation of the timing of this project to make sure that we finished something and edited it and whatnot. But last night we won an award because we converted this video into a radio documentary, my first one, and we won an award with the First Nation Media Awards that was on in Canberra last night. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And I only did that was because they kept extending the deadline and asking for entries. And if I didn't have this project already ready to go, I wouldn't be able to do that. So it's all been divinely timed and flowing for us.
Great.
Thank you.
I just wanted to congratulate the filmmakers. I'm delighted I know most of you, and I did think this collection of films is very impressive. They're really beautifully made films. Pointing out the immediate connection between Jenny's film and Kim's film, right, really is really powerful for me. The idea about Jenny talking about trees are people too, and then Kim, your film, which talks about, no, the people killed the tree they were supposed to protect. So that's a pretty powerful story for me. One question I wanted to ask the filmmakers is, how much support did you need to have the films made, to shoot the films? It looked to me like what Jenny was doing on location, on country, and with these other female, Indigenous women there, that it was quite, that Jenny might have been using the camera herself to frame herself and select her locations. And I'm just wondering, yeah, how much additional support was required to make these films? Maybe Jenny might want to reply first.
So I'm a traveler, so I get around a lot, and so I just had to make the most of where I was at that time. And some people were totally not interested in being the subject of a documentary, so I kind of had to pretend that I was taking their photo while I was videoing them, which is immoral and not right. But I felt like I had to make these decisions, and I know that what came out of it they're happy with anyway. But yeah, I wouldn't encourage other people, like especially non-Indigenous people, to run things that way. But these are executive decisions that I have to make on the road, because I know that that person is not going to last forever, and their knowledge is not going to last forever. And also I wanted a complete film of all the 6 artists that exhibited in Japan.
Thank you. That's lovely. Does anybody else want to respond, or Therese?
No, I was going to just ask if anyone else wants to.
I was fortunate to have a residency earlier in the year that I got paid a bit for, and with some of that money, I paid somebody to teach me how to use Blender in a sort of basic way. So, and I also used that money to buy the iPad. So I guess that was extending on something that was already experimenting with, but this was pushing it a bit further. So I guess, yeah, without having that knowledge of Blender, it's a quite sort of an impossible thing. I think when you were used to working in something like Premiere to move into that 3D space. So yeah, that really helped. So I just used some of the money to buy that piece of music that I really liked. I thought it worked well because it was just a bit, I don't know, sort of, a little bit wonky.
We didn't need a shitload, which is probably really obvious. But I think for me, the support really came from within because PK's a player in the space and I'm really not. And so that was so nice to have my, it's probably actually my filmmaking debut. You're welcome. Thanks. So that for me was where the support was in learning from him in this form and medium.
We did buy that wonderful app that you gave a ringing endorsement to just a little while ago.
Yeah.
No, it's I think that part of my philosophy about smartphone filmmaking is that we carry these things around with us all the time. So many of us do. They're with us all the time. They can be pulled out of our pockets at a moment's notice and used to capture things that, Max, in your book, you write about it's like another moment similar to the French New Wave in a way, when cameras became really portable. And this is just another extension, another movement, I think, within that tradition in a way. So that's something that I really love to embrace. So in that way, not really much support was required, but it's a great way to work in a way, and to couple that with such creative freedom that was just such a wonderful gift from Therese and Max. Yeah, it's been a dream to work on.
And I joke about the age of my phone, but I'm sort of proud of how few smartphones I've owned in my life, and I just run them till they die because of the disposable nature of them, and because we're sort of encouraged to get one a year and dress it up in a new cover. So I like that. And I have this anecdote I tell that I went to the Early Settlers Museum in Dunedin, where I'm from, and the iPod that I was using at the time was behind glass in a case, as an example of sort of ancient technology. So I think, given the theme of the project, I'm kind of rocking that SE16, and it works. It runs apps. It does what it has to do. I have to have it permanently and it plugged into a portable charger. But apart from that.
In doing my film, I went out about 3 times to try and get the right conditions. So you basically have to wait till there's a new moon, so there's no moon. Wait till the Milky Way is in a particular position, and you have to go out and sort of source what might be interesting and stuff like that. So that meant quite a few times away from family. The family definitely supporting the time away. The final time I did manage to do 3 days shooting and then 3 days hiking with them, so sort of doubled up, which was fun. But the mobile astrophotography, very much there's access online to resources like how to do this. There's applications, there's a photo pills which shows you where the Milky Way is going to be, and we are so lucky in Australia because we get to see it more than any other, than the Northern Hemisphere. Although, and the astrophotography is part of the new generations of these phones, but it's not advertised. And I think it's because they released the phones in October at the end of the Milky Way season. So the Milky Way season runs from March to October. And most people live in a light pollution area, so they're not going to actually access it. So it's kind of like a hidden gem in it. So you're going out taking friends into the country and going, look what you can do with your phone. You don't realize you can just turn on the astrophotography function and put it up to the sky, even without a tripod, and get amazing Milky Way shots and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely the community was a big part of, being able to be supportive.
Those answers were amazing. Thanks.
All right. So on an Android phone, you just go into phone settings. It's in the main camera, and you go into advanced, and you turn on auto night shot. And so when you're out in a really dark spot, if you go to the left in the photo function, it turns up this little moon. But if you're in a really dark spot and you put it onto stars, it turns into a star. And then when you press it, it takes a 4-minute long photo. Best to have a tripod for that one. And yeah, so it's already inbuilt. And same with the iPhones, like they have the similar sort of functionality.
Maybe not on your phone though, Steph.
I wanted to ask Lucas if you have been to or know about the Darkness Sanctuary in the South Island of New Zealand.
No, but yeah, this is like, a big part of it is like, the people who are really promoting dark skies are people who like the Dark Skies Association that are, giving these sanctuaries and making these promotions and stuff like that. So I think there's one in Australia now that recently got acknowledged. So yeah, I think it's like a really, I mean, in the Southern Hemisphere, we're pretty lucky. We haven't destroyed our skies, so which is pretty lucky. But another big thing is satellites. So, and you've got Elon Musk putting up his thousands of satellites in the skies and stuff like that, low, and so that has an impact as well. So yeah, but.
And how long were your time lapses for? Like, how many hours of material did you capture?
So over 3 nights is most of it, and I was out for about 6 hours at a time during the evening, and like most of the time lapses took 3 to 4 hours to do. So yeah, a lot of sitting in the dark contemplating.
Amazing.
So we probably have time for one more question. Yeah.
I would love to know the name of the mall. I would love to know the name of the mall in Adelaide.
Are you from Adelaide?
No, I'm not.
Burnside.
Thank you.
Remember that name.
Will do.
Just maybe very quickly to say that when we sort of went out with this project, I was like, oh, maybe this is a quite short time frame, but we had actually loads and loads of submissions, and we had to like make some really like difficult decisions because there was like so many good proposals. But I think we definitely chose some great proposals that turned into amazing films. So thanks again for like the turning this around so quickly as well, because the time frame was over like a couple of months, right? It was sort of in the beginning of the year we made an open call, then received your submissions and we shortlisted them, and then you turned these films around in a quite swift time frame. And so yeah, just wanted to also sort of say from the sort of background information that there was loads and loads of good submissions, and you sort of really like stood out with them. And I think we are all very proud of these projects to showcase them then on the Australian Environment on Screen website. And you go and talk. You gonna talk about this?
I was just going to give you the URL, which is Australian Environments on Screen, all one word, .org. So they're not up there yet, but we're hoping that they will be. Maybe not before the Christmas break. Next year, we'll certainly let everyone know so that they'll be available for national and international audiences to see this work. And the other part of the project is that we asked each of the filmmakers to produce a research statement or a reflection on the process, and these are amazing as well. Thank you all for your statements, and they're beautiful ancillary kind of piece in relation to the films anyway, and beautifully written. So they will be up on our website too. With permission, we've got to go through all of this process, but yeah, they sit really nicely beside this. So I want to say from my point of view as one of the investigators of the research project, that this has, in my view, been a really successful model of how to do film research, by inviting creatives to come in and sort of use film to answer questions about film. And, you know, yeah, so I don't know, I think, Max, we feel it's pretty successful.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you set also like a very high standard for the screening that we will have later on to sort of see, I think, what is now possible with smartphone filmmaking. So I'm always very interested to see that, yes, you can sort of follow now traditional conventions of filmmaking when you use a smartphone, but you can also do new things. And I think you all pushed really in the innovation space, whether this is through engaging communities, whether this is working collaboratively, whether this is using creativity through immersive media projects or time lapses and or like, you know, Todd and Lucas filming at night. So I think that is really showcasing all the things that you can do. And I always like to refer to smartphone filmmaking as the only the only limitation is the imagination. But through experimentation, you can go out and further push this and develop where you want to take storytelling. And I think you showed some novel perspectives on the Australian environment that we probably haven't seen before. So I think smartphone filmmaking makes also a great contribution to this research project to sort of see really how we understand the Australian environment and screen and how we understand storytelling.
Thanks. And we've organised for some food and some sparkling water and orange juice. So we hope you'll join us in just a celebration of the works. And, you know, they are now officially launched.
Just a quick thank you as well to Gaia, Marsalis, Anu, Felix, Dr. Felix, William, and SD for helping out with the all of MENA over the last year, but also for capturing this event. We got some really great documentation. And thanks also for Acme, for the tech team. It's always really great when you make these things happen for us. And Therese, just really want to say thank you again for, like, you know, having MENA to join with this project. It's been really wonderful. And also that I could, you know, reach out to the MENA community of, you know, smartphone filmmakers that have been part of MENA for a long time or new. And so if you're not part of MENA yet, just feel free to make a film, and, you know, you can follow us on social media. You'll see the great work that SD and William and Marsalis last year did in terms of like showcasing the work of the filmmaker. So, but yeah, thank you again, Therese. And it's been really, I think, really amazing to see that we could sort of make this happen.
Thank you.
Sparkling water.